The sages, Kunti and the Pandavas reached the Vardhamana kingdom within the Kurujangala territory, the nearest settlement on their journey to Hastinapura from Shatashringa. Upon their arrival, the devastating news of King Pandu's demise was conveyed to the ruler of Vardhamana. This news, like wildfire, spread throughout the kingdom. Pandu, known as a virtuous king and the hero who saved the Kuru kingdom from Jarasandha, had earned the love and respect of his people. Thousands of citizens, upon hearing of his untimely death, gathered in shock and mourning. A message was swiftly dispatched to Hastinapura. Upon receiving the message, Vidura, known for his composed demeanor, was visibly shaken. The news reverberated through the palace like a thunderclap. Bheema, along with Satyavati, Ambika, and Ambolika, was struck with grief. Ambolika, Pandu's mother, was particularly inconsolable, lamenting that she had been denied even the final sight of her beloved son. Even Dhritarashtra and Shakuni were taken aback by the sudden tragedy. Without delay, a delegation comprising Bheema, Vidura, Satyavati, Ambika, Ambolika, and Dhritarashtra departed for Vardhamana to pay their respects. The Kuru princes, along with Kripacharya and Shakuni, remained in Hastinapura. When they arrived in Vardhamana, the rishis recounted the full tale of Pandu's life in Shatashringa, the divine birth of the Pandavas, and the circumstances leading to his tragic demise. They explained how Madri, overcome by grief and guilt, chose to follow her husband into death, performing sati to join him in the afterlife. The sight of Pandu's astikas in the care of the rishis broke Ambolika's spirit. She wailed inconsolably, her cries resonating with the grief of a mother who could not bid her son a final farewell. Bheema, though burdened by his own sorrow, maintained his composure and assured Kunti and the Pandavas of his protection and guidance. He vowed to uphold Pandu's legacy and see to the well-being of his children. Dhritarashtra, taking possession of the astikas, entrusted Vidura with organizing the grand rituals for Pandu and Madri. A procession was arranged with the astikas carried in a beautifully adorned palanquin, flanked by hundreds of soldiers and followed by thousands of mourning citizens. Bheema, Vidura, the Pandavas, and Kunti walked solemnly behind the palanquin as it passed through the streets, an ocean of grief surrounding them. The astikas were taken to the sacred Ganga river, where Yudhisthira, as the eldest son, performed the last rites. With trembling hands and a heavy heart, he merged the ashes into the flowing waters, bidding his father and Madri a final farewell. The kingdom mourned collectively as food donations were organized on a massive scale across the land. Every citizen, regardless of status, received food in honor of Pandu and Madri, an act reflecting the immense respect they had garnered throughout their lives. The delegation observed an 11-day mourning period in Vardhamana, honoring the passing of Pandu and Madri. After the period of mourning concluded, on the 12th day, they prepared to journey back to Hastinapura. In Hastinapura, Shakuni received unsettling news that left him both shocked and impressed. The ever-perceptive Bheema and the astute Vidura had seen through his carefully laid plans. They had begun identifying individuals with the knowledge of Divyastras and were actively trying to bring them to Hastinapura. Shakuni was startled at how accurately they had discerned his strategy and felt a pang of frustration at being outmaneuvered so swiftly. As he pondered his next move, Shakuni's gaze shifted to the Kauravas practicing their wrestling skills in the courtyard. Duryodhana, ever dominant, was easily defeating his brothers. However, his bout with Dushasana was more intense, with both brothers displaying equal strength and skill. Eventually, Duryodhana overpowered Dushasana, pinning him down decisively. As the training session unfolded, a commotion arose at the gates of the courtyard. Bheema, Vidura, and a group of sages entered, followed by a procession of soldiers and the Pandavas. The attention of everyone in the arena shifted toward the new arrivals. Shakuni's eyes, along with those of the Kauravas, immediately fell on one figure in particular. Amid the group stood a towering young boy, his frame unusually large and muscular for his age. This was Vrikodara, the second son of Pandu, better known as Bheema, due to his immense strength. The Kauravas murmured among themselves, many marveling at Bheema's imposing physique. Even Duryodhana couldn't take his eyes off the Pandava. For the first time, he felt a flicker of inferiority. The sheer presence of Bheema, his powerful build, and his confident stride stirred unease in Duryodhana's heart. Some of the Kauravas whispered to one another, praising Bheema's look and speculating about his abilities. Duryodhana, already unsettled, felt a pang of resentment as he heard his brothers admire someone else, a feeling he had never experienced before. Shakuni, watching the interaction, noted Duryodhana's discomfort. A subtle smile played on his lips as his mind began weaving new strategies. The arrival of the Pandavas was already creating ripples in Hastinapura, and Shakuni was determined to use this changing tide to his advantage. Vyasa arrived in Hastinapura to console Kunti for her immense loss. With his calming presence, he spoke to Yudhishthira and his brothers, offering his blessings for their future. He assured them of the virtues and qualities they possessed, especially Yudhishthira, whom Vyasa described as an embodiment of righteousness and an ideal candidate to lead Hastinapura as its future king. Vyasa also spoke privately with Bheema, praising Yudhishthira's noble character, wisdom, and sense of justice, qualities that made him a perfect fit to inherit the throne. Bheema, deeply moved by Vyasa's words, silently resolved to guide and protect the Pandavas in their journey ahead. Later, Vyasa spoke to Satyavati, revealing his concerns about the changing times. He explained that the natural order was shifting and the world was becoming more dangerous. People would soon be consumed by jealousy, greed, and cruelty. Sensing this, Vyasa advised Satyavati to renounce her worldly ties and retreat to the forest to live the rest of her life in penance and peace. Satyavati shared this decision with Ambika and Ambalika. She asked Ambika, as the mother of Dhritarashtra, to stay behind since her son was the reigning king, but Ambika insisted on accompanying her mother-in-law. Ambalika, too, chose to leave the palace life behind and follow them. Together, the three women left for the forest to spend their remaining days in meditation and spiritual solitude. The Pandavas and Kauravas continued to bond through play. Whether it was racing, treasure hunting, or other games, the Pandavas often displayed their superiority, with Bhima's immense strength standing out the most. Naturally playful and mischievous, Bhima frequently used his strength to dominate the Kauravas in their games. When the Kauravas climbed trees to gather fruits, Bhima would dash toward the tree and shake it with such force that the Kauravas would tumble down. Amused, Bhima would laugh heartily at their misfortune. The Kauravas, stunned by his incredible strength, dared not show their anger. In other games, Bhima would grab their legs, dragging them around as if they were toys, or catch two of them by their hair and knock their heads together in jest. Sometimes he would dunk them into water, holding them just long enough to frighten them before pulling them out. Despite these antics being in a playful spirit, the Kauravas were terrified of Bhima. Even when they suffered under his pranks, they were too afraid to complain to Kripacharya. Duryodhana silently observed everything. He deeply resented Bhima's strength and dominance. Though he witnessed Bhima's bullying, he refrained from intervening, worried that if Bhima turned his wrath on him, he might lose the respect of his brothers. But deep inside, Duryodhana's anger and frustration festered. While he outwardly maintained his composure, his hatred for Bhima grew stronger with every passing day. Resentment took root in his heart, and he began harboring dark thoughts. Duryodhana, no longer willing to endure Bhima's superiority, resolved to kill him whenever the opportunity arose. This marked the beginning of a bitter rivalry destined to shape the future of the Kuru dynasty. Duryodhana, harboring a plan in his mind, proposed a Jalavihara, recreational outing by the river for a couple of days. He selected a picturesque location near the serene Pramanakoti River, a spot not too far from the palace. After finalizing the plan, Duryodhana informed his father, King Dhritarashtra, of the arrangement. The king approved the idea and immediately made provisions to ensure the comfort and safety of the princes, took extensive measures to ensure the Jalavihara by the Pramanakoti River would be a flawless and enjoyable experience. He commanded his servants to meticulously clear the area, cutting down overgrown trees and underbrush to create an open, inviting space suitable for royal recreation. Temporary shelters were constructed using fine wood and decorative fabrics to provide shade and comfort for the princes and their attendants. The ground was leveled with soft grass to create a pleasant seating area, while pathways were made smooth for easy movement. To address any potential threats from wildlife, Dhritarashtra deployed a battalion of skilled soldiers to thoroughly survey the surrounding forest. The soldiers hunted down any wild animals that could pose a danger, ensuring the safety of the royal party. Traps were set in deeper parts of the forest to capture or deter any wandering predators, and scouts were stationed to maintain vigilance throughout the event. In addition to these precautions, Dhritarashtra arranged for a contingent of guards to remain stationed at the site, ensuring the prince's security during their stay. He also ordered the royal cooks to prepare a lavish feast for the outing, complete with delicacies and seasonal fruits to enhance the experience. Fresh water from the river was filtered and stored in large containers for drinking, and arrangements were made for entertainment, including musicians and performers to keep the young princes engaged. Dhritarashtra also instructed his servants to ensure ample supplies of scented oils and herbal concoctions to ward off insects. The entire site was transformed into a royal retreat, reflecting the king's dedication to his son's enjoyment and safety. Every detail was carefully managed, leaving no room for inconvenience. Once preparations were complete, Duryodhana extended an invitation to Yudhisthira, informing him of the upcoming Jalavihara and warmly inviting the Pandavas to join. Yudhisthira, appreciating the gesture, sought his mother Kunti's permission. Kunti, understanding the importance of maintaining camaraderie between the cousins, gave her approval. With her blessing, Yudhisthira agreed to join the Kauravas for the outing, marking the beginning of a seemingly harmonious gathering.